this place. So, Lanzarote. It's a volcanic island, kind of like Kona, but it's a little bit different than Kona. Kona has at least some lush areas. This is very, very barren. However, the barrenness of it is covered in a little bit of grass, whereas the barrenness in Kona is covered by lava fields. So just tad different. Still very nice. Apparently, the race here, the Ironman distance race here, was named last year in 2018 the most difficult Ironman race in the world. I can see why. It's hot, it's windy, it's dry. The road surfaces out here, fairly difficult, which I would like, but the road surfaces apparently out on the course are like just total glass. And this Club La Santa, you gotta see this place. This is incredible. This is a playground for endurance athletes. I just got my credentials to be able to shoot here all week, and Patrick, thanks Patrick, the marketing manager, he said that here we've got two 50-meter pools, but there's another 50-meter pool over that way, about a 10-minute walk, if this one just so happens to fill up. Gross, right? Who needs 3 pools in one spot? They also have guided mountain bike sessions, guided road ride sessions. I just saw a group of riders going out to do a hill ride workout. Like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hill ride workout of the day. We're going to be doing 6 times blah, blah, blah hill interval. Whoa. They've got a full service bike shop right there that you can rent bikes, you can get your bike worked on if you brought your bike. They've got a full weightlifting facility over there. They've got a full 400-meter track over that way. This place is all right. I could totally get on board with hanging out here for a while, but we've got some work to do. I saw Lucy and Reese just strolled on up, and we're gonna get some work done right here, right now. Well, that is going to end up being awesome, awesome Trainiacs. They are fantastic. So Lucy and Reese realized something there that I've known all along, that gives me confidence that this whole masterclass idea is going to be a success. So how this is working is I set up a couple of cameras, and we've got an outline of the topics that we decided on, that I had in mind, and then we polled all the early masterclass supporters and asked them what their main issues were. So we used that to make sure that we're talking about the right things and answer all those right questions. And what I've heard from a few of the athletes that I'm doing these masterclasses with is they're like, I'm not a coach. I'm not really sure if I do know the stuff. But what I've known and what I've experienced over the last 2 years is that when you live something every single day, even if you aren't a coach, you are learning as you're going. So what was going on there is I started peppering Lucy and Reese with questions about all the different topics, and like they're boom, boom, boom. They have an opinion. They know how to do it. They know how to recommend a drill. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of dead tape right off the top of their head. They knew how to recommend how to get faster at swimming. And I know that that's going to be the case when we move on to Cam Worf with the bike and Sarah True with the run. Because they've lived this for so long, they know what they're talking about. So it is going to be a smashing success. Knock out about 4 to 6 videos every single day for the next 5 days. 1 or 2 audio files every single day for the next 5 days. Sneak in a podcast with Patrick Lango while we're here, and we'll be good. We will be great. If you are liking the sounds of all this, there are still early, half-price courses available for Cam Worf, How to Bike, Sarah True, How to Run, Lucy Charles, and the All Access Pass. We're all sold out like that. I'm gonna go start diving into that footage. They are good swimmers. Later, Trainiacs. Morning, Trainiacs. After the world's longest security screening process, I am a little bit late for the flight. So we are headed to Lanzarote to film the How to Swim Masterclass with Lucy Charles and her husband Reese Barkley, also a professional triathlete. Gotta hurry a lot, they're boarding right now, and we are going to answer all of your questions that you asked me on Instagram. Let's go. Well, that first flight just barely made it. They do not enjoy camera gear and bike gear, and when you're traveling with camera gear as well as bike gear, it does not go well. Let's get into some of these questions. For starters, have I ever conducted a survey to know where Trainiacs are located? It basically mimics the worldwide triathlon demographic. About 43 to 46% are in the US, and then big countries are UK, Germany, Australia, New Zealand. Basically, if there are lots of triathletes in an area, there are lots of Trainiacs located in an area. We do have an over average amount of Canadians, and a lot of like Anglo-Saxon countries. I think because they look at me and they're like, hey, he looks like me. Plus I speak English, so it's a lot of English-speaking countries. Basically, English-speaking countries that have a lot of triathletes. When are you going to LA with Cam Worf? This is the Cam Worf How to Bike Masterclass. Cam Worf is the 2-time defending Kona course record holder. I'm coming home from Lanzarote on the 15th of January, home for like 3 days, and then NTK and I go straight to LA, so very soon. What nutrition would you use in a sprint race? Well, personally, because I would go somewhere around 106, 107 in a sprint race, I really don't take anything. I actually like dump out a huge amount of my water bottle. So I'll like fill up 1 water bottle, sip on it throughout the warm-up of the race, and then make sure that when I start the race I've basically got that much left for the bike. That's it. But it's more dependent on how long it's going to take for you to race. And for that, go to triathlonterran.com/triathlon nutrition guide. That will dial in your specific triathlon nutrition. All right, I gotta go find a gym here. I've got like 7 hours in Montreal, so a little bit of a swimming around. Oh yeah, that was a hour 15-minute run. The last 15 minutes at sub 4:30 per kilometer pace. I forget what that is in miles. And then 44-minute, 1,800 meter swim. I couldn't have planned that 8-hour layover better if I tried. It's almost as if I did that on purpose. All right, a few more questions. What trip in 2019 are you most looking forward to? Right now, Half Ironman Puerto Rico. NTK and I are going, and I think after the race we're gonna stick around for maybe a week and see the sights. We haven't been on a trip that I hadn't turned into a work trip in a long time. That'll be nice. What is my favorite vegetable? Well, first thing that came to mind was raw broccoli, but I know that's not it. After careful deliberation, I'll say sweet potato. It's delicious, it's nutritious. I've actually got in mind for this fictional endurance athlete specific supplement company that I'm concocting in my head. Sweet potato for the flavoring of the recovery drink. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do I like bread? Unfortunately, I love it. Unfortunately, because my dad is celiac, I'm gluten-free, I've been tested, I'm like slightly allergic to gluten, but I weigh like 15 pounds less when I avoid gluten, wheat, all that stuff, and I recover in a day from a really hard workout, whereas when I was on the gluten, I would be sore after a hard workout for like 3-4 days. So I love bread. I miss bread. My mom makes a really good gluten-free pumpernickel. And NTK and I were trying to find a gluten-free, like ancient fermented sourdough recipe. If you've got a gluten-free sourdough starter, comment below, please. Okay, I think I gotta get back. Fly time soon. Oh, also, hi to, I think it was Jill and Lisa, the ladies that I saw at the pool. You guys were so nice. Thanks for having me. All right, gotta go now. Oh, I am appropriately fed and watered now. Next question. Which bike do you have with you? I brought the Ventum, it being 2.5 months out from Half Ironman Puerto Rico. I gotta start spending a lot of time in the aero bars, and I have not been spending much. Any tips for getting stronger on the bike? All right, you need, I would say at least if you're gonna commit to getting stronger on the bike, 3 rides a week. 1, long, less intense, building to an over distance, longer than your race. 2, a really intense, shorter, typically during the week kind of ride. And then 3, just another ride to get more time on the saddle. Time in the saddle, that's all there is to it. Best time on a 5K run. I have done a 5K road race. I'd say the course was a little off, and I had a track athlete that I was pacing. I went, I think it was like 18:59. Course was funny though, but like an actual 5,000 meter, I think it was 19:08. There, that's better light. Are you planning on adding marathon and ultra marathons to the training program? That is not in the cards at the moment. I have a hard enough time learning about how to coach triathlon, and it took us 8 months and many tens of thousands of dollars just to make a triathlon training program. It's not to say I won't look at it in the future, but it's not in the cards at the moment. Are you a 3-stroke breather or a 4? Neither. 2-stroke breather. Think of it this way. More than electrolytes, more than fluid, more than gels or nutrition or calories or whatever it is, what is the #1 fuel that our body has to function off of? Air. Air. So here we are, if we are in a race trying to perform really, really peak levels of exertion, breathing every 3 strokes, and most age group triathletes have a stroke rate of about 60 strokes a minute, and our normal breathing pattern is in between about 40 and 60 breaths a minute, but because we have a 3-stroke breath, we're only taking 20 breaths a minute. Meanwhile, we're trying to perform really high. Compare that to running, cycling, where we're taking anywhere between 40 and 80 breaths a minute. We need to get that closer to that. So just by breathing every 2nd stroke as opposed to every 3rd, we increase the amount of oxygen we supply our body with by 50%. Not bad, right? It's just math. Sometimes I use something on my nose when I'm training. Okay, what is it and what are the functions? These are Breathe Right nasal strips, or I'm trying an intake breathing bar. Basically, it's just nasal breathing. And the reason you want to use nasal breathing is your muscles actually need more carbon dioxide in the body to be able to extract the oxygen from our red blood cells. So by breathing really heavy out of our mouth, going, it ends up extracting too much carbon dioxide and not stimulating the production of nitric oxide, which nasal breathing does. So nasal breathing kind of moderates how much carbon dioxide is left in your body while stimulating the production of nitric oxide. Also, the faster we breathe, the more our blood vessels are constricted. So open up your blood vessels by nasal breathing. All right, did you think your life would be like this when you were young? No, didn't do triathlon. I thought I was gonna be a doctor, and then, I don't know, just lost interest in that. Thought I was gonna be a vet, and then I realized you had to put animals down. Wasn't cool with that. And I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and then I really came to my senses about that. But at some point, I would say late teens, I knew that I was going to own my own business at some point. I didn't think it would be YouTuber. And is Mel's husband super cool? Not really. Wears a hat really well though. Okay, let me settle in, relax a little bit before I gotta get on the plane. Yeah, this'll work for a 6-hour flight. One of the benefits of running an online business is you spend a lot on credit cards, just about every purchase. So, points. Ever considered doing an ultra marathon? Yeah, I'd love to. Most of them are done on the trail. I love trail running, but I don't know if I'd hold up to it. I think I would actually be not too bad at it. I enjoy trail running, and I think I'm fairly tough in the long distance stuff. Does high intensity, low volume work just as good? It works. If you are somebody that only has like 4 to 5 hours a week to train, probably, maybe even less, like 2 to 4 hours, a lot of high intensity. But studies have shown that basically all the way down to about 4 hours a week is what they've tested. It could be less, but at even 4 hours a week, 80-20. 80% of your training at low intensity, zones 1 and 2, 20% of your intensity at zones 4 and 5 is what works best. What bike box do you use for the Ventum? I use the Bike-End Helium. Do I like it? I don't hate it. What time are you expecting to get in Roth? Really nothing. I'm expecting to have a learning experience. I want to be prepared enough that I can learn from the race as opposed to just get bossed around. And what gets your heart rate up the most? Pretty much everyone is running because you have to carry your own body weight. All right, I think I'm gonna settle in. Whoa. I got a solid 2 hours sleep there. I feel like I want to say morning, Trainiacs, because it's morning here in Brussels. But it's like middle of the night back in Winnipeg. I need some liquid sleep, aka shower. Which leads me to the very last question of the day. The whole plan over this week was I expected the travel to knock the stuffing out of me, resulting in a lower heart rate variability reading today. Normally my average heart rate variability like 50 to 70, today 20. So not very good. I expected that to happen, so I did. While my heart rate variability was higher throughout the week, I did my key sessions so that I can just get to Lanzarote, do a couple of recovery sessions over the next few days while I recover from the travel. You know, here, there's a heart rate variability video here, and we will link to that at the end of the video. Last question, somewhat related to that. When you get a cold, do you completely stop to work out? If not, what kind of workouts do you do? Well, rule of thumb, if it's above the neck, a head cold, you can keep working out, but maybe just keep working out lighter. If it's a body cold, you want to take probably 2, if not 3 days of complete rest. Like achy, chills, things like that, simmer down. And wrap your head around heart rate variability. It's a really good measure now that there are some practical ways to implement it. Like I said, check out that video that by now I will link to here. My heart rate variability is quite low right now. Morning, Trainiacs. Wow, do I feel better after that shower. This is the second day of travel getting to Lanzarote to make the How to Swim Masterclass with Lucy Charles and her husband Reese Barkley, and I am currently, you're fogging up, currently in the Brussels Airport Lounge. I just had a good shower. Surprisingly, I found out that there is a point that you can have too many shower heads. Let me show you. I hope YouTube doesn't take this down. Coming out of all the corners, one in the middle, 2 coming down from the side. Like I was a circus elephant getting washed down. Let me put myself together. Oh my goodness. So much better. I was a little bit screwed up there. Now, I like this Brussels Airport Lounge. We have the showers. Kick these things off. A little foot massage action here. Am I right? Am I right? I will take refresh. Whoa. Okay, I want to show you something here about heart rate variability. I touched on it just yesterday, this morning, and I did a video on heart rate variability a little while ago that not everyone went crazy over, but here's why it's so powerful and has the ability to, in some studies, have a 4-fold improvement beyond just setting up a weekly training schedule with rest days, on days. So the idea behind heart rate variability is when your heart rate variability is high, you give your body stimulus, work out hard or long, but when it's very low, that's an indication that you're beat up, so you give yourself rest. So take a look at this. We can look at what happened overnight. I only got 2 hours of sleep and traveled, so my heart rate variability just plummeted. Look back at what happened over the holidays, have a whole bunch of bad food, have some wines and drinks, heart rate variability goes down. Have Christmas party before Christmas, and heart rate variability goes down. So what you start seeing is that as you develop trends and an understanding of what affects your heart rate variability, and you start tracking it on like a rolling average with, go to triathlonterran.com/HRV training, and what you see is how the last 7 days compared to the last 30 days. And when your heart rate variability dips on a rolling average, you take a rest. So you can start seeing how you've got to train. Now, this isn't very practical for a lot of people because not everyone has the ability to alter their training day to day, but if you do, if you're retired, if you work from home, if you're self-employed, it's an option. All right, I'm here for a bit. Festive with your Christmas tree. Oh, all right, Trainiacs. That was a lot of travel. As you can see, it's nighttime outside. I'm in. All my gear is here. Buddy that has his own YouTube channel. I'll link to it in the description below. He's staying right below me. Everyone is here. Everyone that's super cool. Let me explain what these masterclasses are all about, how they work, okay? So, this was asked to me while I was on the layover at Montreal. And the person that I was swimming with there, she said, all right, okay, how do these master classes work? That's what we're here for. We're swimming the How to Swim with Lucy Charles and Reese Barkley master class. And I guess I kind of explained it, but I also didn't actually explain how people will pay money to learn from Lucy and Reese. So everyone that signed up for the early masterclass, what's going to happen is there are these online course websites that we can sign up to, and I create a subscription to, and then we create the website that has How to Swim with Lucy Charles and Reese Barkley, How to Run with Sarah and Ben True, How to Bike with Cam Worf, How to Strength Train with Aaron Carson and TBD, How to Nutrition with nobody just yet. But everyone that has signed up for the early masterclass, we will create these courses, and how it works is we create the course, and over the course of this week, we will shoot around 18 videos with Lucy Charles and Reese Barkley. We will record 6 longer audio files. From that, I'll then pay attention, I'll go back home and I'll create any of the additional supplements. So if they say something like, here is a workout that I would do, and they spec it out with 400 this, and then 10 times 50 of that, yada, 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 I will create those in text form. And what we do is we take those audio files, we take those video files, we take those text files, we take those images, whatever comes from the next few days of working with Lucy and Reese, or Cam Worf, or Sarah and Ben True, and we put it into this online course that we subscribe to. And then when it's live, all of you, the general public, can just go and purchase it. But the early masterclass people that have supported us, that will just be given a discount code so that they can log in. How can I go to, you know what, just go to masterclass.com. That's kind of what we're basing that off of. Or back when we were doing the Triathlon Terran and my old coach Pat training plans, it's kind of a similar platform where we upload all the video, all the audio, all of the assets that you need to get going, and then you just go and purchase it. So that's how it's going to be. Structurally, it's going to be 6 weeks long. Each week is going to have 3 videos, 1 audio file, and then supporting documentation and probably a 30-day money-back guarantee. Anything else? I'm tired, folks. I am tired. I'm going on like 48 hours and 2 hours sleep. Let me give you the quick tour around my glorious 274 square feet. So this here is this is it. It's entrance. I'll do this on a nicer day, but like you see, no, you can't. You see that? You see that? No, no, definitely not. But the ocean is right out there. We've got this nice little balcony. Come into this teeny tiny little kitchen, but it's kind of cute. I mean, it is as small as it looks. Now we'll go right over here. And I think the bedroom is actually bigger than the living room. Nice little skylight. You should see Renee's place downstairs. The guy has a $20,000 red camera. He's got basically a chalet down there. Here I am like a pauper. I don't know what he's doing in triathlon videos, but I am not. All right, there you go, Trainiacs. That is my traveling to Lanzarote. Lots of fun things coming up over the course of January in this new year. And if you haven't yet gone and got the half off discounts at triathlonterran.com/early,
Eigentlich wollte ich euch jetzt zeigen, was ich alles so einpacke, warum ich was mitnehme. Jetzt muss ich aber erst ein Problem beheben, weil jemand mir meinen Radkoffer zurückgeschickt hat, dem ich ihn ausgeliehen hatte.
Es gibt nichts Größeres für mich und es ist einfach nur der Wahnsinn.
Wer wird Zweiter bei der Wahl zum Sportler des Jahres? Patrick Lange.
Today, welcome to my third installment of my journey into Di2 as I upgrade the new Giant TCR from stock standard into being my bike. In my first Di2 video, I used the battery charger as the PC link for programming and firmware updates for the Di2 system. In the second video, I installed the wireless module in the seat post so the Di2 system can talk over ANT+ and Bluetooth. And in today's video, I'm installing the SWR600 remote satellite shifter. I've wanted one of these for a very long time on my bike, and today I finally got a bike to install it on and the unit itself. So let's go through the unboxing, the installation and programming of this so it does exactly what I want on my bike. Okay, let's have a look at what's inside the box as ordered from Shimano. These are around $119 Australian, so probably under $100 US. We have the manual, which we'll put aside. We have some cable ties, we have some rubber backing pads, and the shifter unit itself in a very, very big plastic bag. A little closer look at the unit itself. The buttons are quite large, and the unit is quite chunky for what it is. So, hand for scale, and tape measure for scale. All right, let's see how long this unit is, plus the cable. Okay, so the cable itself measures in at about 29 centimeters, just over 11 inches of cable that comes attached. And overall, the unit's around about 33 centimeters or around about 13 inches long, all up. So take that into consideration when measuring up your bike. Over to the scales, these weighing in at 19 grams. Not bad. Okay, where I'm going to install this on the bike is around about here. I should be able to reach that with my thumb. Today, welcome to my third installment that comes attached, and overall the unit's around about 33 centimeters or around about 13 inches long all up. So take that into consideration when measuring up your bike. Over to the scales, these weighing in at 19 grams. Not bad. Okay, where I'm going to install this on the bike is around about here. I should be able to reach that with my thumb. The angle we'll sort that out once it's all in play. That's where it's going, and the cable needs to go up in here somewhere. So where it goes on the bike, we pull off the hood of the lever, and you can see that's where it's currently plugged in for the shifter itself, and we have a spare Di2 port down here, where the plug just simply plugs in, and it should be as easy as plug and play. So off with the bar tape, carefully unwrapping that so I can rewrap it, and out with the plug. Now I have to get a little creative with the plug here because there's a lot sort of going on back here. It does get a bit ugly. When you take the bar tape off, you can hide all of this away, and I will be doing that with Dr. Slane in a future video. Okay, where to route this optimally is the question. So we're going to go under here, around the other cables, and using the installation tool. Now the installation tool is not a real requirement, but you can see here what it does. It inserts the plug straight, so no bends or kinks in the cable itself when used right. Just have to give myself a little bit more room. Cable goes in the tool there, and it just pushes straight on and clicks in as easy as that. And we're done. That's installed. Just testing this out in the system, so turning the cranks, clicking up and down. You can see there on the back, by default, it changes gears, but it does change them in the other direction that I'd like, so that's what we're going to reprogram later on. As for getting all this mess tidied up, this did take probably about 15 to 20 minutes to try and sort out where I'm going to be using it for now. As I've mentioned, I'm going to do a whole rewire of this. We'll hide everything away, but for now I still wanted to make it look pretty neat, so bit of problem solving here with some tape, tidying things up, tucking things out of the way. And I'm going to make a small loop. Given I'm using quite narrow bars, there was a bit of excess cable there, so I'm just going to loop up the cable underneath here. Now there's already a big loop under there anyway for the lever, so not a problem for just putting another loop under there, tucking it away and then wrapping the bar tape over top. And getting creative with some angled tape on here, just so there's no excess rub. Making things as neat as possible without going to the extreme, which we will do very soon. Next up is positioning, and the bars taper in at the 31.8mm section on the inside, so they're a little fatter, a little out, so it's on a slight angle. How I'm going to solve that one is to put a little bit of the backing tape on just one side and to build it up, and then I'll leave it off the other side. I'll just rip that cable tie nice and tight so it doesn't move anywhere. So just backing tape on one side. Again, just a full customization of the bike here. Di2, you can do anything you like with it. You can pull these switches apart and put them anywhere. So you don't really have to always go by the book. Well, the manual's actually pretty sparse. Okay, one cable tie on, two cable ties on. I'll speed this part up because this, again, took a while to thread through. Again, not a fan of having to use cable ties on a bike in 2019, but it did come out quite neat, I must say. So once everything was through, the cables were out of the road, it really wasn't too bad. function over fashion, definitely. Now onto the snip, and that could go horribly wrong if you get the wrong cable. Luckily I chose the black. Oh, hang on, they're all black. All good. Job done, nice and neat and tucked away. So there we go, installed at the correct angle. It's time to get the bar tape back on. Now I'll skip you the nightmares that I had trying to wrap this back perfectly. It ended up going on okay though. And here we are, bar tape back on. We pull the hood back over the lever, and everything that was ugly is now neatly tucked away out of sight. All looking good. And the finishing tape that I managed to salvage, because I took it off very carefully, we'll wrap that around just to give it that almost new look. Even though it's not new anymore that I've done that to it. Quick spin on the bike, making sure it changes right. Up and down in the back. Happy days. Really was plug and play. Now over to the programming of the unit itself. Press and hold till the double lights flash, and loading up the eTube application on my phone. Now this does work because I do have the eWOC module installed there that you can see I connected to. We'll jump on. Fingers crossed we're on the latest firmware and we don't have to tempt fate and do the firmware update. So you can see here a full list of all the componentry. We have the battery, junction box, front and rear derailleurs, levers, wireless unit, and the SWR600 there with, thankfully, the latest firmware. Nothing needed to be changed there. Over to the programming side of things, we just click on switch unit, and we can see there we have both levers and also the switch that we put on just now. Now X and Y, I want to invert those. So the left goes up the cassette and the rear goes down the cassette physically. How it's labeled on here is sort of different to the way I think. So again, the beauty of Di2, you can customize this. You can see there, just switch those functions around. We hit OK. Wait for it to program. Back to the menu. And closing the app to make sure it disconnects, and back to shift mode. And there we are. Okay, that goes up the cassette and that goes down the cassette to a harder gear. That's my terminology. That's how my brain works. It's all really good. All right, time to put this to the test. Ripping the shoes on, the end of the day here, out in the road, and with a total stitch up, I didn't actually ride any hills. So there we have it. It really was that easy. Plug and play and away I go. The hardest part was rewrapping that bar tape so it looked okay. I will be rewiring the whole bike in the near future with the help of Dr. Stephen Lane. We'll be doing some really funky things to hide those cables away, but for now, it's about getting out there, riding the hills, and making life a little easier with the remote shifter. If you're looking at upgrading one of these to your Di2 system, check the eTube compatibility chart. I will also link below to that to make sure everything works. And it's happy days. All right, I'm out to ride. Enjoy your ride too. Thanks for watching. Welcome to my second video on Di2 as I get a little bit more hands-on with the group set of my new Giant TCR bike here. By default, out of the box, well, more specifically off the shop floor, the Di2 R8070 group set that came on my Giant TCR is a fully wired system. You saw the other day that I plugged in the battery charger so we could check the firmware updates and do the programming and things like that, but there is a missing link that I have ordered and that I do have today. Here it is, the Wookiee unit, I think I called it in the other video, the EW-WU111 wireless unit. What this allows is ANT Plus and Bluetooth connectivity from the Di2 system to talk to Garmin head units, Wahoo head units, to do a few funky things like that, to show gearing information, to show battery levels of Di2, which is going to be super handy. But you can also then reprogram the buttons to do a few funky things on these head units. I won't go through the full programming of what it can do with these head units today. What I'm looking at doing is getting this installed correctly on my bike for the first time. So this is my first hands-on with Di2. Let's see how I go, but first of all, let's see what I need. The tools and equipment I'm using today are as follows. The EW-WU111 unit itself, the wireless module, a 15cm Di2 connecting cable, the Di2 connector tool thingy, a torque wrench, some cable ties, and some tissues in case this ends in tears. Okay, let's have a look at what's inside these boxes as they come. There's more manual than there is actual product, so that's all that's in the box for now. Just some documentation. Those user manuals are all on the web, so you can do your full research before even purchasing the product. But here is, there's some little cable grabbers there, but the module itself is very, very small. There we are. And it's said to weigh 5 grams. 3 grams. I don't think it's going to slow me down up any hills. So that's the module itself. As you can see, it's just a straight pass-through. You plug one cable in there and one cable there. That's as easy as it gets. So for that, we need an extension cable. Oh, no manuals in this one. We just have a cable. That's all we have, just a very short Di2 cable. Going for the minimal approach today. So it'll unplug from somewhere, that plugs into there, and away we go. Cool. This is what we need to install. And note, the EWWU111 needs a compatible Di2 battery. Please check the eTube compatibility chart for your system if you're looking at doing this too. I'll put links to this chart in the video description below. Today's work stand is the Kicker Snap, which I've got the throw axle adapter installed for, so the bike stays upright as I work on it. Now, there's a few options here for where I can install this module. It can go anywhere in line on the Di2 system bus, and a very, very logical and easy place to put it would be up the front here where there's already a junction box adapter which connects just 2 cables. I could simply remove that and put the wireless module in there, but I'm up for the challenge. I want to hide that module away here in the seat post, just underneath the battery. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. The backup plan is to put it out the front there. So first things first, let's get the seat post out and have a look at the junctions and things we're working with. So that pops up. We will put a marker around the seat post height so we know what we're working with when we put it back in play. Okay, the plug comes out. I'll go back in till later. Okay, and here we go with a bit of goop on it. The Di2 system wiring. So the battery is in here. Looking closer at what I'm up to here, we're going to disconnect the Di2 system bus from the battery itself. We're going to connect this cable to the wireless module, and then from the wireless module we'll connect our replacement cable back into the battery, and we're good to go. And I'm hoping this is not going to rattle around in the frame too much. If that is the case, we'll pull it out and put a light bit of foam around it and put it back in play. So we shove everything back down there. Back to the battery itself and the connection here. Which, it's a bit goopy. And just to make sure we're not going to pinch any cables, we give this a bit of a helping hand poke down the seat tube. There we go. There we go, we're almost there. The wedge bracket back in play. And we make really sure that the seat height is exactly where we drew the line, which is right there. And the seat plug itself actually has 7 Newton meters written on it. So we just snug that down by hand for now, just lightly, so it's not moving anywhere. And we finish the job with a real tool. So up to 7. Must be close. There we go. Done. Okay, there we are, the wireless module installed. That was all way too easy. A few tips I've picked up in the comments on my other videos. People were saying disconnect the battery before installing any components on the Di2 system bus. So we did that because the battery was in here and that's what we disconnected to put that module in line. And another thing about updates as well. People are saying it's advisable to use the cable for updates, not the wireless module to update other components. The wireless module itself, which is tucked in here somewhere now, can only be updated via the wireless module itself, which is kind of weird over Bluetooth. So I will now log in, we will connect to it, we will try and do a firmware update of that unit. Fingers crossed, it's all happy days. Let's get over to the software configuration side of things. Okay, after having woken up the Di2 system, let's open up the eTube app here, which should connect to the unit over Bluetooth. Okay, here we go, connected to the Wookie 111 unit. Bluetooth pairing request. I believe the first number was 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll pair. There we go. Now we change the passkey to my own password, so no one can reprogram this by pressing the button and having their phone nearby. We set that. Okay, the wireless connection is poor. Well, I'm kind of sitting right next to it. Okay, wireless updates for the unit has been found. Fingers crossed on this part. Now this is the firmware for the EWW111 wireless unit itself, not for the rest of the components on the Di2 system bus. I have updated those with the wire the other day, so we should be good to go on that. Let's cross our fingers for this one. Wow, that... Okay, a suboptimal result there, and now we have no bike. So, out of the box, following all procedures, we've currently got ourselves a single speed. Okay, this little hiccup is now sorted. So what you saw there is that this unit itself, the wireless module, failed the firmware update halfway through the process, well, 10% into the process, which really wasn't happy days at all. That then effectively bricked this bike. Nothing would work. No reset button, no gear changes. I had to take the seat post out, disconnect the battery. I reconnected the system without this in line. Everything was okay. I then put this back in line and it came good again. I then had to unpair the module itself, or the Bluetooth device, from my phone, from the system settings, close the app, reopen the app, repair to this with that new password that I'd put in for myself, and it was happy days. The firmware did update on this unit. So now everything is okay. We have system gear changes because I have closed the app. It's all good to go. I can connect to this over Bluetooth. So what I'm going to do now is put this all back in the bike, as we saw before, as per spec, with the torque wrench. And the final thing I'll do, I'll just get one of my head units and make sure we can connect to the amp plus of this, and we'll call it a day for now. Bit of a process, a few catches there, a bit scary when no changes were taking place, but we got there in the end. All right, let's get this packed up and done. Okay, first of all, kicking off with the element bolt integration with this wireless module. I'm going to open the element bolt here on the phone. We want to set up some sensors. Make sure the Di2 is awake. Okay, there we are. It's found the Di2 module there on screen, so we save sensor on that. It's now part of the system. Awesome stuff. With some customized pages. We want to add a customized page. Let's call it Di2, just for Di2 pages here. We can scroll down and add all our Di2 stuff where we can find it. There's a lot to choose from here. Gear selection, current gear, battery level. I'm not sure this has any further detail than that. Anyway, we'll go into the full programming side of things another day, but that's just making sure it all works okay. So we have the pages set up on here. If we just click on page, there we are. We are right to go. Now, the battery level is only for the unit itself, so I'm going to remove that from the screen. Okay, so we just have gear selection shown here on the element bolts, gear number 1 and 9. Again, we'll just do a quick demonstration of this as we pedal. All the way up. As we can see there, it's not instant, but it does work. So here on the 1030, we will add sensor. We'll hit search all to see what's in the room. Okay, the unit's finally showed up. We just add sensor here. Click on add. Do we want custom screens? Absolutely. Gears, so we want battery level, Di2 shift mode, front gear, gear combo, gear ratio, gears, gear. Let's put everything on. So here's all the information you get on the screen just quickly here on the 1030. So the gears, gear ratios, most importantly, the Di2 battery, and also the shift mode you're in. Pretty cool. We'll leave it there for this side of things. We'll come back and revisit this in another video. Alrighty, there we are. The installation of the EWWU111 wireless module for my Di2 setup. Not as straightforward as I'd like it to have been. Interesting stuff. Another thing I guess I need to look for is the signal strength from where I've installed this, down in the seat tube all the way up to the handlebars there. So I'm not really going to know until I get out and do a few rides, and making sure that the signal strength is good enough to get those gear changes and the information from down here up to the handlebars. If there's any issues with that, I'll be putting it in the handlebars or up the front of the bike somewhere. The good thing about the Di2 system is I can plug it in anywhere. Your mileage may vary based on your bike size, and I guess maybe even the size of your legs impeding that signal. Alrighty, we'll leave it there for today. If you found this interesting or informative, hit that subscribe button. It's much appreciated. And coming up very soon is the remote climbing shifter installation. More fun with Di2. Stay tuned for that.
Let's talk about Grace Brown, your former teammate. Wow, that was fast. Well, considering the conditions, Carly, I think everyone should go quicker.
Centimetre per distance. That's like exact same as I'm playing.
In England, I don't think they're as big anymore. I think purely because of the same issues we have here with road closures. But wow, they have the 5 mile, the 10 milers, and a lot of the time, their road races they have are just time trials.
So good afternoon there, watching the individual time trial championships for Australia for 2019. Finished just behind me. Major, well, no, I wouldn't call it a major upset, a little bit of an upset there with Turbo Derbo taking the win from world champ Rowan Dennis by about 21 seconds or so. Huge ride, and that's a double up for WA for the Elite Man road race with Freeberg and Turbo Derbo taking out the TT. Good stuff. And Sarah Gigante taking out under 23 women as well.
Excellent to see. What an absolute champion. I just caught the start of all the men, so I'll play those now, and a few of the finish lines as well. So enjoy that. There's not much else that I could capture from the TT. It's hard to get anywhere on an out and back course. Full coverage will be over on SBS, I'm sure, so I'll link below to that. And no doubt Cycling Tips will have some articles on that as well. So that's a wrap for the Nationals 2019. Thankfully Ballarat put on the good weather for it while everyone was here. And we'll be back again in 2020. 2020, can you believe that? 2020. Anyhow, here's the start line footage of everyone taking off and most of them coming home. Oh, and before I forget, Grace Brown took out the Elite Women Championship for the ITT just back down the road. Awesome stuff.
Based on what you've done in the last 12 months, Carly.
You don't have a whole team supporting you. When the two have 70 lines.
Go, Nick.
Brilliant season 2018. Stage victory this year, stick in the leading jersey. Two-stage victories at the World of Tasmania, stick in the leading jersey. Target the rainbow jersey, third Australian cyclist of the year, another victory. And also just arrived, third last ride of the start, the colours of the 215, made the cuts. We rode really well on Sunday. He's brilliant. I think he was the arm runner as well. I'm not sure if anyone would have picked him to win. And it was one of the best performances we've seen. Last couple of seconds, down around you go. Let's see how he did that. He was right on the high.
And the winner of the Offie medal, he is the world champion, is the last to start. It is Rowan Dennis. He finished in the wheel.
This looks like it could be Luke Durbridge. So Durbridge, there's two other riders behind him. He is challenging, he is challenging. See what our screen says. They've been updated.
New best time, Luke Durbridge goes to the top of the table. 51 minutes and 1 second. That is phenomenally quick and significantly quicker than the winning time 1 year ago. Callum Stopson, is it now coming to sight? It is. He's kept the clutch in. He's in sight of the finish line. He's catching Nathan Huss with the red helmet on. Behind him is Ronald Dennis, the world champion. The time to beat is 51 minutes and 1 second. Ronald Dennis, can he challenge that time? Huss just in front. Dennis is the clock that we're looking for. Luke Durbridge waits. 51.01. Huss across the line. It is there to Ronald Dennis through with 51.22. So Luke Durbridge is the new Australian champion. He wins by 21 seconds. The world champion Ronald Dennis is second. It's then Cameron Murray third.
Shocking moment, eh? Just sort of let it all come to me. It doesn't really feel real at the moment. Just sort of. Funny, but good. The first time I ever touched my fingers.
When most people think of cycling, they think of the steep hills and thrilling sprints of the Tour de France. But one of the sport's oldest and most coveted records is something called the hour record. It's very simple. One person, one bike, riding for 1 hour on a track like this. How much distance can they cover? The first official record was set in the late 1800s, and since then, many of the greats of the sport have attempted the hour. Today, the men's record is 54.526 kilometers, or just under 34 miles. For women, it's 48.007 kilometers, just shy of 30 miles. But can somebody ride even farther? Today, we're going to look at why riding 60 kilometers in 1 hour is almost impossible. To find out what it takes, I tried riding as hard as the current record holder. Discuss the pain of riding that hard for a full hour with someone who's done it.
All your body is just screaming, stop, stop.
Very good, Robbie.
And worked with a sports scientist to find out what my body is capable of.
Nice, VO2's into the 50s, perfect, that's excellent.
The hour record has been called the purest of all cycling races, but actually doing it is anything but simple. It's become a team effort with designers, coaches, and athletes all trying to roll just a bit further. They use state-of-the-art tools like wind tunnels and power meters to gain every competitive advantage. No detail is too small.
You have the wheels, the frame, the helmet, and the shape of that helmet. You know, we can get somebody to save quite a bit of drag.
But first, you've got to have the strength and stamina to push hard for an hour.
The hour record is a very personal endeavor. It's all about you, your machine, and how much power you can put out for 60 minutes straight. It's usually a lot of power, and it has to be very consistent. It's a lot harder than it sounds. But today, I'm going to try to maintain the same power as the current men's world record holder and just see how long I can last. To help me today is Evelyn Stevens. She's a former hour record holder herself, and she is going to be controlling the machine that I'm currently pedaling away on.
Stevens retired from racing in 2016, but before she did, she set a new hour record by riding an incredible 47.98 kilometers, almost 30 miles.
And our record proved to be one of the most, if not the most challenging thing I did during my career.
There's a lot that goes into the hour, but one way that cyclists look at racing these days is through something called power output. It's measured in watts. A bike commuter might generate about 100 watts. Pro sprinters can generate nearly 2,000 watts, but only in short bursts. The hour is all about a steady, prolonged power output.
It's kind of a meditative process in a kind of a masochistic way.
When Stevens set her record, she kept up an output of around 300 watts for a full hour. Bradley Wiggins, who has the current men's record, is estimated to have cranked out 440 watts for an hour.
So what kind of power output am I having right now?
So Robbie, you're currently going 150 watts.
Okay, and how much power do I need to put out?
We're going to need to get you to 440 watts.
Okay.
So next stop, 200.
All right.
Stevens used an app to increase the wattage on my trainer, which made it harder and harder for me to pedal.
Okay, you're now at 200. All right, you're at 250. How's it feeling?
Hard.
Ready for the next?
Yeah, let's take it to 300.
Let's get there.
Oh, it's way harder if I watch you increase it like that. So Evelyn, I've heard that when you're actually trying this record, you aren't actually allowed to look at your power output.
No, when you do the record, you have no data whatsoever. So you have no power, no RPM, no time, no distance, nothing. You are just, it is truly you and your machine. Okay, I think this is kind of probably an uncomfortable level, so I think we should just keep going.
Let's go right to 400.
Let's go right to 400. Okay, we're at 401. Okay. Well, should we just go right to 440?
Yeah.
Okay, you're at 441. We're giving you a little extra. So remember, he did this for 60 minutes. All right, you got, what was that, about 30 seconds? You think, Robbie, can you do it for an hour?
No. Oh, God. Man,
I think you held that for about 45 seconds.
God, that was ridiculous. You'd have to hold that more than 60 times longer than I just held it.
Yeah.
And actually focus on where you're going.
And you do it from a standing start.
That sounds miserable.
That misery is what cyclists call the pain cave. And enduring it for a full hour is incredibly difficult. Stevens told me that she nearly cracked with only a few minutes left during her attempt.
There was, I think, about minute 50 to 55 of the hour record. I lost it. And that's because I was physically in the most painful place I had ever been.
To come anywhere close to setting an endurance record like the hour, you have to be physically gifted. And one of the greatest gifts a cyclist can have is a monstrous VO2 max. It's a measure of how good your body is at getting oxygen out of the air and into your tissues.
VO2 max is a value that we test in the lab and we identify because really sets the upper limit of how much energy can be produced.
That is Neil Henderson. He's the sports scientist who coached Stevens to her record and Rowan Dennis to his. Both athletes have massive VO2 max numbers.
The thing is, VO2 max output can only be sustained for maybe 5 or 10 minutes in a well-trained athlete.
But a pro athlete can perform at a level just below their VO2 max for quite a bit longer than that. That level is called their anaerobic threshold. To find it, you measure something called lactate in the blood. Too much lactate, and the effort can't be sustained.
Those two tests in concert tell us what that absolute ceiling is, and then how close to that ceiling you can redline and hold.
To find my limits, Henderson put me through the same exercise that Stevens did, but this time he sampled my blood while I rode on the stationary bike.
6.8, we blew through, finally. So you got a 2.1 millimole change on that stage. That clearly indicates that you were basically lactate was coming out over the top.
Then he tested my VO2 max.
So this is a two-way valve. So he's going to be breathing in and getting air from out here. And then as he exhales, it's going to lock that off. And then what he exhales is going to go in through here into the analyzer.
This doesn't look intimidating at all.
Same deal. I rode harder and harder, and he measured my oxygen levels.
I reached this point where I kept telling myself, like, 10 more seconds, 10 more seconds, 10 more seconds, right? Like, I can do 10 more seconds. But around halfway through the 320 stage, my body was just like, nope, can't do 10 more seconds, you're wrong.
Fantastic.
What was my VO2 max?
Your VO2 max, the absolute peak got into the 50s, and in fact, 52.5 milliliters of oxygen per kilogram of body weight per minute, which is very good. I don't think you're gonna set an hour record tomorrow with that, but that is well above an average value for sure.
So an Evie's value was what?
72, 73.
The number of people on Earth with VO2 maxes in the 70s is just vanishing.
Very small, right? Yeah. Especially women in the 70s is like men in the 80s. There's a handful.
Okay, so I'm definitely not a contender for the hour record. But that doesn't mean I can't try to get faster. I went to bike manufacturer Specialized to get a pro fit on a bike very similar to the one that Stevens used to set her record. But first, a new outfit.
It's very pink.
Then I got a custom, totally pro-level treatment from fit
right.
specialist Aaron Post.
Wow, yeah, this is super aggressive already.
Yeah. He used an LED motion capture system to dial in every aspect of my position on the bike.
Yeah. You just did your first 180 on a bike, my friend.
I figured I wanted to get as low as possible to minimize wind resistance. But Post says that's not always the case.
The aero position is only aero when you're in the aero position. Doesn't matter how cool your bike looks in transition area or sitting out there for the photo shoot before you go for an hour record. If you can't stay in those aero bars, you're not going to be faster.
He's right. Staying in aero position can be limiting. Too low, and it makes it hard to breathe. It can even restrict blood flow. With my fit dialed in, I went into this beast. It's called the wind tunnel. W-I-N. Get it?
Safety first, even in the tunnel.
All right. You're gonna go fast, right?
Most wind tunnels are for testing cars and aircraft. This one is made for people. Evelyn Stevens perfected her hour record position here. I tried riding in slightly different positions while the team at Specialized captured my aerodynamics data. I tried the lowest possible aero bar position for my fitting, and then I tried it 2 centimeters higher, which felt a lot better. Why so much focus on this? Because handlebars matter a lot to the hour record. In the 1990s, racers started exploiting unconventional and profoundly aerodynamic handlebar positions, like the praying mantis, with the arms tucked up under the shoulders. Chris Boardman set what is now called the absolute hour record at 56.3 kilometers using this, the Superman position, arms stretched out into an air-slicing dart. But in 1997, the rules changed. Everyone had to use classic drop bars, and under those constraints, no one could touch the absolute record. But then in 2014, the rules changed again, allowing for a sort of in-between position. Aero bars like these don't slice the wind like the Superman did, but they're way faster than drop bars.
All right, so what do the results show?
All right, so your baseline position, again, was the most aggressive and lowest that we thought you could sustain in the Fit Lab. If we raise the pads 2 centimeters, because you said that, hey, that lower position might not be sustainable, especially over an hour. So we raised it the 2 centimeters. And for you, it turned out that that position was actually absolutely no different in aerodynamic drag. So as an athlete, that's a win-win. You're able to hold the position, you're able to generate more power, and there's no aerodynamic drag penalty. Now, the icing on the cake on top of all of that is with that higher pad position, you were a lot more comfortable getting more aggressive with your head shrug. And by doing that, that saved a further about 5% or 15 watts from your position, which is enormous when you're trying to go as fast as possible.
To put it all together, Henderson took me to the US Olympic track in Colorado Springs, where Stevens set her record.
Once you've gotten up to speed, hold right about 200 watts.
First, I rode on a standard track bike. Given my measurements, 200 watts for an hour seemed possible.
Right around 35K
I was
an hour.
going to say 35.7.
Yep.
But I'd only go about 35 kilometers, just under 22 miles. Hardly a record-setting distance. So Henderson swapped out some components.
The first thing I'm going to change out here is going to be the front wheel. This will actually make even more difference than the rear wheel, since this is the leading edge. The other thing we do is, in terms of the tire width, this is an extremely narrow tire on this extremely narrow rims.
Even if I wasn't born with a massive VO2 max, I could still be faster.
You are aerodynamically enhanced. Double disc, front rear, aero bars, aero helmet. It's go time. Let's see what you got.
All right.
We're gonna go the same target power, 200 watts, what you're gonna see here, but we should see clearly some significant increase in your speed.
Next level.
All right.
With the same power output, I was suddenly able to pedal almost 40 kilometers an hour, or nearly 25 miles per hour.
You just went 10% faster.
Yeah.
That's big.
Same output, 10% faster. Another way to look at that is it took us 5 minutes to put on about $5,000 worth of parts to buy us about 5 kilometers per hour.
I looked faster, and I definitely felt faster, but I hadn't even approached the record speeds or tried to crank them out for 60 minutes. Remember, I couldn't even do a full minute on the trainer at the sort of power needed to challenge the men's record. This event isn't about all-out power. It's about metering your effort just right for an entire hour.
And if you overcook it, there's a price to be paid. If you start too fast, you're trying to do something that's effectively not possible. These margins are so very small that if you go over that effort by just a small amount, 0.5%, doesn't sound like much. You know, for a male cyclist, a high-level rider, that's literally a couple watts. But the cost of exceeding that can, on the end, in the last 10 or 15 minutes, cost 10, 15, 20, 50 watts that they can no longer produce what was just a 0.5% too much for the first 45 minutes, and then they fade out and the speed drops.
To get a sense of what the pros experience, Henderson paced me with an electric motorcycle. First, I tried riding 48 kilometers an hour, the women's speed record. Then I tried the men's speed. As you can see, I was wobbling all over the place. It's one thing to try and ride this hard on a trainer. Doing it on the track felt dangerous.
So we got up to rowing speed, 52.5K an hour, and
about a lap.
About a lap.
As much as gear and training matter, so does the track. Concrete tracks like the one at Colorado Springs are a little slower than wooden ones. And the track's location and altitude make a big difference as well.
Ultimately, a given rider can produce a certain amount of power output. The amount of power is going to affect the speed they go, but your selection of what track and where you go is going to have an impact on aerodynamics and air density specifically. So when we come up to altitude like we are here in Colorado, the air is less dense, though you also have a physiological constraint that you cannot produce quite as much power as you would at sea level. In most cases, there's a benefit, though, to performing at altitude, especially if you have conditioning and training being done at altitude so that you're prepared for the task.
When Italian racer Vittoria Bussi broke Stevens' record, she went just 27 meters further. And she did it on a wooden track in Aguascalientes, Mexico. It's where many cycling records have been set.
Aguascalientes is a faster track. It's at altitude, it's about 1,800 meters high, so it's just a touch higher than Boulder here. Because of the air density, which is really the barometric pressure and humidity interactions, tends to be much warmer, and then it's a wood 250 meter track versus a concrete 333. So it's got all the right characteristics to be very fast.
How fast? Let's just say that I attempted the hour at 200 watts on this bike with this gear. Now, I'm not going to set a record by any means, but the right track could make a big difference. At an outdoor velodrome, like the one in Trexlertown, Pennsylvania, I would ride 37.35 kilometers. But in Colorado Springs, I'd get 38.75. And in Aguascalientes, I would jump 2 full kilometers and go 40.9. And that's just the track. Factoring in their position and equipment can give an elite cyclist just enough edge to claim the record. So will we ever see the men's record hit 60 kilometers or the women's hit 50? Maybe.
I do believe that 50 kilometers per hour is definitely in the realm for the women. They're currently just under 2 kilometers shy of that. I do believe that the men, even with the current position, will be getting into the 55 and even 56 kilometer range, maybe 57.
To break the 60 kilometer barrier under current rules, Henderson says you'd need a person capable of generating 450 watts while tucked into what would likely be a very painful aero position. And they'd probably have to do it in Aguascalientes.
But until that happens, remember that what athletes are doing already is almost impossible.
Welcome to the GCN Tech Show.
This week we have the world's first smart bike integrating Amazon Alexa, 4 new high-tech wonder materials that could revolutionise cycling, as well as your upgrades and the bike vault.
Nice, let's get cracking.
Let's do it. John Cannings isn't here this week, but he's got a good excuse because he's in Australia looking for the latest World Tour bike tech. So stay tuned for our guide to the 2019 World Tour bikes, which he's doing at the Tour Down Under. I can't wait for that.
Bit closer to home though,
Right.
Halford, the UK retailer, have announced the world's first connected smart bike, which has access to Amazon's Alexa.
Yeah, the company's called Cybike, and their top-of-the-range model is called the E-Legend, and the head of Halfords is quoted as saying, "We've seen innovations in alternative commuting go from strength to strength, and after electric bikes, we predict that the next big trend for commuters will be smart bikes."
They are including lots of functions which will be useful to urban riders, such as turn-by-turn navigation, traffic and weather updates, lighting settings, and well, pretty much anything Alexa can do, including music.
So on your ride home, you could order your favourite takeaway and tell Alexa to put the kettle on in time for when you get back.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Sounds ideal, doesn't it?
Where do I order? In addition to that, this bike has all the features you would expect. Performance data such as speed, time, distance, GPS, mapping, and some that you might not expect, such as a security lock, which can be accessed via the bike's app, theft tracking, an alarm, Vodafone SIM, HD music player, and Wi-Fi.
Blimey. I mean, that sounds pretty good, but a little bit alarming.
It's
not
full
just because the alarm, because, well, Alexa now knows not everything you say and do when you're at home, but if you've got this bike, it also knows where you go, when you go there, and what you do and say when you go in those places. I mean, It's kind of like Skynet, isn't it? I don't think Sarah Connor's going to be buying one of these.
It's tin hat stuff, isn't it? But I think it's pretty cool. Anything that makes commuting more accessible and functional for the average person out there, surely it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a good vote in my book as well. I agree. And the makers are looking to distribute this throughout the rest of the world too. But initially, the UK distribution is set to be available in summer of 2019.
Yeah, just don't expect it to be a featherweight racing machine. I reckon it'll be 30 kilos looking at it.
It's got a motor though, so it's all right.
Oh, nice.
Last week, we asked you what tech you'd like to see in 2019. As ever, thanks for all your great comments, and we're going to read a few of them out here.
Here we go. Up first is Todd Taylor. I don't need any new tech for 2019. I just need the tech that already exists to become more affordable. I'd like to buy a power meter and a disc brake equipped Trek Madon, but I'd rather not sell a kidney for either.
Interestingly, we had a look at the price of black market organs, and a kidney is about $10,000.
Yeah.
So that would pretty much buy you a power meter and a Trek Madon.
Yeah, there are better organs to sell. You
Yeah.
can get more money for different things.
Well,
And
you can sell your eyeballs. That's about another grand
Yeah.
So you get some wheels to go on your Trek Madon as well.
Good luck. Let us know how you get on with it. Oh, you won't be able to because you won't be able to type into the comments.
Yeah, well, you can sell your scalp as well.
Yeah.
You'd get probably more money for your scalp than most people, I reckon. A lot of people would want your scalp.
False economy, a lot of money on hair gel.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, anyway, we also had a great comment from Jer.
Ooh, wireless shifting from Shimano. I like that one.
Yeah, well, I think everyone wants wireless. It's interesting though. I don't know if we are actually going to see it.
No, but I mean, to be fair to them, their stuff works as well as it is, doesn't it?
Yeah, but well,
it would look better with.
Will Shimano go wireless? We don't know. And Ala Cycle commented saying he just wants to see a better GoPro mount that can fit the larger oval-shaped carbon road handlebars that the puny round mounting system won't fit. And he said he got no response from the makers of GoPro when he suggested it to them.
There are ways around that one though, aren't there, Ollie?
Well, there are. I mean, I can totally relate to this. A lot of you commented previously when we were filming in Alta Badia, and I had to resort to simply sort of taping a GoPro with some bright red insulation tape onto the My Canyon Aerobar. It's a bit of a first world problem though.
I read once that actually the best GoPro mounts are the ones you make yourself.
Well.
So there you go.
There you go. Right.
On to the rest of the show.
This look at future tech got us thinking about, well, what else is out there? So we did a bit of research and we came across 4 exciting high-tech new, well, wonder materials that could completely change cycling in the future.
Starting with thermal tech then, and this is a patented lightweight fabric made from 100% stainless steel mesh with a solar selective coating. The fabric is excellent at absorbing heat in the form of UV lighting and conducting and dispersing this throughout the entire material.
Yeah, it's also said to offer a huge amount of insulation for relatively low bulk. So this makes it particularly exciting for the sort of minimalist clothing we use for winter cycling compared to something like skiing. And the makers reckon that it offers 25% more insulation than a traditional jacket. And well, it's also a flexible fabric as well.
Hang on though, if it gets its heat from the sun and UV lighting, presumably it's really cold in the dark?
Well, apparently not. Apparently, once the sun goes down, it's able to absorb heat from your body and heat itself up that way. And it can also thermoregulate as well. So it stops you overheating because it can dissipate the excess heat that you generate as well.
Nice,
pretty cool. Yeah, and it's not just science fiction because back in 2016, there was an Indiegogo page set up to fund a jacket made using this material, and it met its funding target, and apparently you can buy it.
Well, I guess it's only a matter of time until we see if this works its way into the cycling world.
Yeah, well, I imagine it is, yeah. Exciting.
Nice.
Next up, we have self-healing polymers. Now these are still in an early stage at the moment, but they have extraordinary promise, and we fully expect to see lots of applications for these in the future. So scientists at MIT, which is in Boston, have reportedly developed an elastic polymer that is able to self-heal and repair itself when it's been cut or torn.
Yeah, it's genius, and it does this by absorbing carbon from the atmosphere, which has a posh phrase, sequestering, apparently.
I know.
Ah.
And the process is apparently quite similar to the way that plants absorb CO2 during photosynthesis as well.
Yep, and that's going to be good for the environment, isn't it?
Yeah, well, anything that reduces CO2 is going to be cool. But what are the actual cycling applications for this? Well, I think the first one, the most obvious one for me, would be something like tyres. Imagine tyres that if they get cuts or slices in them, they can just heal up and repair themselves. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it'd make life a lot easier.
Yeah.
What about screens on your computer?
Yeah, or your phone.
Yeah, they could do with a self-healing screen.
Yeah, you could have a screen that just, when you crack your phone screen or your computer screen, it can repair itself. Be awesome.
Engineers at the Sandia National Laboratory have created a new alloy made from a combination of gold and platinum.
Gonna be cheap then.
Yeah, well, maybe not. But it is said to be 100 times more wear resistant than your general hardened tool steel.
Wow.
Which I think is pretty impressive. And that puts it into the same category as diamond.
Yeah, that.
Although not quite as hard as diamond, it is more abrasion resistant than other alloys.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you made cassettes or chains or drivetrain components out of that stuff, or even just coated in it, it would be, well, it'd last far longer than any currently existing drivetrain components, you'd imagine.
You'd imagine so, yeah. 10% gold and 90% platinum.
Is it harder than Chuck Norris, though?
Oh, it's going to be close.
Really?
No.
Yeah. Lastly, we have a special coating that can be applied to glass to block sunlight. So, coatings that can tint glass already exist and are controlled by electricity. But scientists at RMIT, which is in Australia, have developed something which is arguably superior in that it's able to regulate its transparency by itself.
Isn't it just a light reactive lens that's been around for years though? People have been wearing them for a while.
Well, they have been around for a long time, but this isn't a coating that simply lightens and darkens. It actually switches from completely transparent to a mirrored finish, which is pretty cool. And it does this because it's made from vanadium dioxide. Now I'm going to get nerdy chemistry nerd on you now, okay? So vanadium dioxide is a special compound, and at 67 degrees, the electrons within vanadium dioxide are able to flow freely, and in doing so they release energy which can be seen in the form of the material switching from transparent to mirrored.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know you did. I was explaining it to them.
But that would be really cool if you could get them into a pair of cycling glasses.
Yeah, no, it would be absolutely awesome if you could have glasses. I mean, like, you know, when you're descending and you go through tunnels, I mean, you've got experience of that. It's like...
You would no longer just have to hope for survival.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, awesome.
Nice.
But as ever, we want to know what you're most excited about, and also the tech that you would like to see and the things that could make the biggest difference to your cycling. So,
jot down.
Let us know in the comments. It's now time for Screw Riding Upgrades by Upgrades, where you submit pictures before and after of your bike or upgrades for a chance to win the ultimate prize, the GCN Capron. Hang on a minute, where is the Capron?
You said you were bringing it.
I've got it here, guys.
Ah, nice.
What are you doing down there? Thanks, suggestion boy. Right.
Anyway, last week was Fred from New Jersey, who had this incredible homemade smart trainer. And we really enjoyed this comment, actually. I wonder if Fred, with the homemade Zwift trainer, could come and have a look at my Wi-Fi, please.
Yeah, that's a good comment, that.
Good try.
He was up against Tim from Royal Wootton Bassett, who had his pink Elo Velo bike. So, who was the...
Drum roll for the winner! And that was Fred with a whopping 71% of the vote.
Wow, it's a massive landslide, that. So, yeah, just Caprons in the post. I'll get Suggestion Boy to...
He comes around and delivers it personally.
To post it out for you. And also, don't forget to have a look at that Wi-Fi connection for Andy as well. Right, this week we have...
Robert in Colorado, who has upgraded his Specialized Tarmac SL4. To save some money, Robert purchased an older Specialized Tarmac SL4 with plans to purchase upgraded components over the period of a year. A year later, this is the result. The main upgrades included Shimano R8000 crankset, Ultegra chain, S-Works carbon seat post, Specialized Power Pro saddle, S-Works Aerofly carbon handlebars, Specialized Comp multi-stem, and Roval CLX 64 wheelset.
Oof, that is nice, isn't it?
He's done a good job, I like that.
That is seriously smart, and also, well, a really sensible way of doing it. To save money is buying an older model and then tarting it up with a plan to upgrade it.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Yeah,
big fan of that. Well, he's up against Joseph from Cleethorpes. Now, if you've never been to Cleethorpes, it's like a far nicer version of Colorado, and it's got better fish and chips too. So, you know, book your next holiday there. Now, Joseph bought his bike at a charity auction. It had no distinctive markings, so he made it his own. It was a bit rusty and needed a lot of TLC, so me and my dad spent the week cleaning and respraying and upgrading the parts, complete with a custom head badge from the coat of arms of Cleethorpes, which is his hometown. And that's on the seat tube and the head tube. And the group set was upgraded to Shimano 600, and a new racier set of handlebars was also installed. That is very nice.
Yeah, there's good colour coordination.
Yeah, the way that the brown bar tape and the saddle, I love that. You don't see enough brown tape and saddles on bikes these days. But it's very
it's all
smart.
black and black, isn't it?
Yeah, and also considering how little money's been spent on that bike, it looks very, very nice indeed.
Yeah, good work to you, Joseph, and your dad.
Yeah, it's a tough one this week, isn't it?
Anyway, It's not up to us, Ollie.
No, it's not. You're right.
Up to you guys. So make sure you vote up there and find out who the winner was next week.
Yeah.
Bike of the week now. And last week was the incredible Honeycomb Pinarello from Fat Creations, and that was up against the Spray Gold BMC.
Yeah, battle of the custom paint jobs.
Yeah.
And the winner, with a comprehensive 73%, was Fat Creations Pinarello.
Nice, I do like that.
That is a cracking looking bike, isn't it? So this week, well, we had to do some of the new pro bikes on the World Tour.
So many to choose from.
Yeah, so excited about those at the moment. And we've put two of our favourites up against each other. So we've got the new Sunweb team bike, well, the Cervelo S5.
The funky bars.
Yeah. Versus the Dimension Data BMC Time Machine TM01. Cav posted a picture of it on Instagram.
Nice.
Really good.
Yeah, you know where to click. Up in that corner.
Yeah. Head to head. You decide. It's time for the bike vault.
Best time of the week, Ollie.
Yeah, that's my favourite part of the show, I think.
Yeah, me too. You need to submit your bikes if you want them to be included in the bike vault using the link below for the uploader tool.
Yeah, and we judge them to be nice.
Oh, super nice.
And what happens if the bike says super nice, OP?
We get John's little cowbell out.
Yeah.
And we give it a good old ring! You asked for it.
I don't know who's more scary, you or John.
John, easily. He's an angry man, Ollie. When he gets his cowbell out. Come on.
Okay. First up this week, we have got Roy from Wisconsin in the USA. Now, Roy says that he purchased this frame set and built up his bike in 1975, and now he's restored it in 2018. And he's got complete Campagnolo Super Record original group set on there, except the pedals and saddle, which are more modern, as he does actually plan on riding it again. And he also sent us a picture of the current state of the bike, but also, I really like this, he sent us a picture of one of him riding it in a race in 1976. And he says this bike has got many memories. Look at that. That is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, this is an easy one for me, Roy. That is one of the coolest things I've seen submitted since I've been on the channel.
That is awesome.
I love it. I think that's really
even
cool.
Though I never even passed.
It doesn't even matter.
I was in agreement.
You know that John would have given it super nice.
You knew. Yeah, that was easy. That was easy. Right.